Yeah, like now I'm sad if I make less than 3,000, which is so awful
I
to
know.
say, but you get used to things.
Hey guys, Jenn Bruno Smith here. I am here with Sivan Rettew of Lovely and Lace. You are based out of, I always say this wrong, Akio. No.
Okay, Chloe.
Chloe, I was so
Not
wrong.
idea, not idea.
I wasn't even close. I was so wrong. In Orlando, right? No,
Yeah,
near,
so we're like right outside of Orlando.
right outside of Orlando.
Yeah.
So you have been a photographer for how many years now?
I say since 2009, but my husband swears it's 2008, so whichever.
Yes, we've been like going for about the same amount of time. That's when I started too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started in 2009. I mean, I wasn't very good, but that's when I started.
Oh God, no. You don't want to see my beginning pictures. They're highly embarrassing.
We all start somewhere, right? Like we have, I started with like vignettes and selective coloring and like all kinds of stuff, like oversaturation in Lightroom. I was really big on like making skin tones really gray and then everything else like super saturated.
I made things orange and I put this weird black border around all of my photos. And I got really creative by adding like a layer of words on top of my photos.
Oh yeah.
It looks so like vintage, I guess. I don't know. My photography might have been better had my editing not totally screwed it up.
Yeah, same. I think that all new photographers go through this trend of like starting in Lightroom, oversaturating, then they discover Photoshop and they're like, oh my gosh, I can put like layers on here. And then like it starts there and then you like go down the other side where you're like, okay, I need to actually make this look not so contrived. And then you like start going back the other way. So I think that's like what most photographers go through, I feel like.
It's like how as a teenager you have to wear purple lipstick or purple eyeshadow to be considered having gone through the teenage years. You have to have that awkward face.
Absolutely. Yeah, and here I am still wearing purple.
Actually, I wore purple lipstick the other day too.
Living my best life with dark lipstick and dark nails, right? So you were so you started in like 2009 and then what did you start shooting?
Engagements and families were like my jam at the beginning, and it was literally my very first session was a couple friend of mine, like a husband and wife, already married, but I'm like, you take off your wedding rings, just the engagement ring, because we're going to do an engagement shoot. That was my very first photo shoot.
I love that. That's great. I did the same thing. My first shoot was like it was a married couple and I like made it look like an engagement shoot too. Again, I think something that most photographers do, like trying to like get as many genres in there as you can and
make it till you make it. That's what I live by.
Absolutely. So what was like the biggest mistake that you made as like a new photographer, like green right out of the gates?
Ooh, that one's so easy actually. It's surprising. And actually my client is the one who made me realize this. Like she verbalized it.
Right.
She hired me for like a birthday party for her kid. And I think it was like the first thing that I had been hired for. They didn't pay any deposit or anything because I didn't know anything about that. And then they canceled on me like a few hours before. And she said, I'm so sorry to do this. I'll be happy to like pay you something just since you didn't take a deposit. And I'm like, yeah, that would be really great. Thank you. And she never did. Like, it was your idea.
Of course.
And so after that, thankfully, it was really early on. So I could learn early, like need to take a non-refundable deposit because I'm not dealing with this.
Right. So did you start in IPS or did you, and so for our listeners and are kind of new to photography, IPS is in-person sales. So there's really like the two ways, right? There's like shoot and burn or shoot and share where you take the pictures and then you give them all the files, or IPS or in-person sales where you do the shoot and then you have a sales session or an ordering appointment after where the client makes their purchases. So did you start right with IPS or did you start or do like a hybrid?
I literally never knew anything about IPS until maybe 5 years ago. It's like semi-new of a concept for me, which is amazing.
Yeah.
No, I just burned discs and I even burned, I don't remember what it was called, where you could burn their photos on top of it. It's really, really fun. Yeah, so that's what I did is I did discs until I learned how to until I learned that there's like pixie set and things like that. And then I would do that and send it to them. I charge like $500 for a session, all inclusive. And then I finally years ago was like, I'm just going to see what IPS is all about because everybody's raving about how much money you can make with it. So let's just see. So I brought in my clients who had already paid $500, already were getting all of their photos, and they spent like maybe $100 extra. And I'm like, this IPS is BS. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. I didn't make anything that was not worth my time. It's stressful. Like, I don't know how to sell. Like, I'm not a salesman. And I would even show them a product and I would literally tell them, but you don't have to get it. Like, I would just totally screw my sale because I was so uncomfortable with the idea. And I thought you had to be like a salesman.
Biggest misconception, right, of IPS is that you have to sell. You don't, right? If your work is good, it sells itself. There's no reason to sell.
And not just the work. That's actually, I feel like, even a smaller portion of it. I think it's if your pricing is right. Pricing is right. How am I going to upsell them after they've already spent only $500 to get everything? Like, what more could they want? They're not going to pay for me to give them a $400 canvas when they can go do it themselves.
Absolutely.
3 images, basically.
Yeah. The pricing is huge. And then also the experience that the clients are getting is huge too. And how they value you and your work. So you went from, so you were doing kind of like a shoot and burn, and then you kind of did like a hybrid where you dipped your toes into IPS and you're like, this really sucks. And then what was your next step after that? You went back to shoot?
Oh yeah, I went back. I'm like, screw this. Like, this is not worth my time, the anxiety. I'm done. And then I didn't even touch IPS again until I started mentorships for boudoir.
Okay. So you did like family, maternity, and then you switched to weddings first? You did some weddings? Yeah.
So I did it pretty early on. I never did it the right way where you like you shadow people and you second shoot. I think I may have second shot once in my entire wedding career.
Wow.
And that was just to help a friend. It wasn't because I needed like the experience or anything. It was pretty far in. I winged it. I winged everything.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah. Completely.
What we do.
And it worked until it didn't work. Like, until I realized that this isn't sustainable and I'm not making as much as clearly I can based on all these Facebook pages that I'm now part of that I never knew existed. And it's like, I just slowly got added to more and more groups. I'm like, what? People are making $100,000? Like, people are making $50,000, like it just, all of that was so mind blowing to me. And now it's just like, all of these years I was just missing out because I didn't even know that mentorships existed for any category. Photography in general.
It's funny because we run ads for the High Rollers Club, and inevitably almost every single day there's someone that will post on there, photographers making $4,000 sales. This is bullshit. And I'll be like, really? You need to find yourself a new circle then.
Yes, exactly. You can't be the smartest one in the room.
Right? You're right. I like that. So what made you start to shoot boudoir? Like, what inspired you to do it?
So I had a client for a bride who had asked me to do her boudoir session. I actually had completely forgotten about this. All these years when people ask me this question, I'm like, I honestly don't remember how it started. And then she came back for a second session and she was like, don't you remember I had asked you and you said no? Like, oh yeah, that's right. So she asked me if I would do these like sexy photos for her. And I'm like, that sounds cool, but I don't do it and I don't want to screw that up. So I can help you find somebody. And she said, nope, I want you to do it. So I looked into it. I went and did my own so I could really understand what it felt like on the other side of the camera first. Because you can't tell somebody it's no big deal, it's okay unless you do it first. And then I started doing the marathons in hotel rooms. And that, I think I did like 2 or 3 a year where I would book maybe 6 girls in a day. And charge like a couple $100. Wow. But of course, I walked out of 6 sessions and I'm like, I made $800.
Which is more than you were making before. Right?
I thought that was huge. Like I would just go to my husband and be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right. And now you get $3,000 or $4,000 sales and you're like, it was just another day.
Yeah. Like now I'm sad if I make less than 3,000, which is so awful to say, but you get used to things. And then
you know what's funny is my husband and I, like when I shot families and even when I was first started shooting boudoir, I would have a sale, and then if it was a good sale, like even what I considered a good sale, like $800 to $1,000. And this was like back in like 2012, 2013. I would call him and I would be like, do you want to play my favorite game? And I would like make him guess what my sale was.
That's awesome.
Now, like I don't even tell him. Like unless I sell my $8,000 collection, I don't even tell him. And if I call him and I'm like, hey, hun, and he'll be like, I like the way you sound. And then he'll be like, it was a good one, huh? And then that's it. And then we're like, okay, so are you getting dinner? Am I getting dinner? Like,
it's just so normal.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Like a normal part of the job now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So you started doing marathons and then you started like really getting serious. What was your revenue? Like, so what year were you shooting weddings and like before you really started into boudoir?
Oh boy. 2014?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, maybe even earlier. Maybe 2012 or 2013 is when I really started trickling in boudoir. But at that time, like never would it possibly have occurred to me that you could pick one genre other than weddings.
Right.
And make a good living from it. So in my mind, I had to do all the things. Newborns, which I did not like to do. I cuddle them, but I don't like to photograph them.
Same.
Product photography, like anything anyone would pay me for.
Same. Did the same thing.
And then I just started doing more and more of the boudoir marathons and getting more people requesting them. And I got really, really, really sick of the hotel scene. Have you ever done the hotel thing?
So I've gotten Airbnbs and like I've done marathons where the most I've shot in a day is 5 and I thought I wanted to die. And then, and I actually did it. I rented an Airbnb, like a bed and breakfast in Central PA, because that's where we're from. So I have like a large like base of connections there and relationships. And I shot 5 in a day. And of course I chose to do it in like November where the days are shorter. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. So I started shooting, like at like 8 or 9, and then it started getting dark at 4. And the floors were like that orange pine, and I had so many like color casts. But anyway, so that was like that was like 2017. I haven't done it since.
Oh, wow. That was recent though.
Yeah.
That long ago.
Yeah. I started shooting boudoir in 2016.
Okay.
So,
I feel like we're on similar-ish timeline.
We are, yeah.
You figured it out way sooner than I did.
As we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Yep, I did that too.
That's awesome.
So like 2017, what were you doing in 2017?
Okay, so I'm looking at my tab here because that's kind of telling me numbers. 2017, I was trying really hard to book the crap out of boudoir sessions. That is about the year when I really, really wanted to go full force with it.
Right.
And I specifically actually do remember that because that's the year my son was born, and I knew that I'd have to take some time off.
Right.
But I didn't want to lose out on those sessions, so I started trying to hire people. And I hired a couple of people. It worked out while it worked out, and then it got kind of less than ideal. And it just wasn't working for any of us. Like the whole situation that we put together just wasn't working out. So that ended. And I had really thought that I could book more. Like I did at one point stupidly promise them, which I think was one of the big issues, is I promised them I can get you X amount of sessions per month. And it was a loose promise. But I really felt confident, even though I had no strategy.
Yeah.
I didn't have a private Facebook group that I remember. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I didn't really, like I did newsletters, but it wasn't really strategic. I just nothing, everything was just like willy-nilly. Like whatever I thought of, I just applied and hoped for the best.
Right.
So in 2016, I had 60 sessions. in 2017, I had 43 because Landon was born.
Right.
And so I had to cut down drastically for that.
Right.
And I'm like, I have to still do weddings. I have to still do all these things because there's no way I can just do this.
Right.
And
how much did you make? What was your gross in 2017?
2017 was from boudoir alone was 48,000, which actually is pretty good considering that was before I knew what the hell I was doing.
Right.
And my pricing was like, I think it started at $750 was my session fee, which now I'm like, damn, that was really high. But then they could get like a bunch of stuff for only a little bit more. So
right.
the max that somebody would really be able to spend was like $1,800.
Right.
And I realized that I'm like, I'm capping myself.
Right.
I don't know how to not cap myself. I don't know how to do this.
So in 2017, you shot like 43 sessions and your gross was like 48. So you were averaging about a little over 1,000 per session. So then wait, what?
Before, gross, exactly.
Gross. So how about in 2018? What was that like for you?
Okay, so 2018, about midway through that year, not even midway, I decided to invest in myself for pretty much the first time ever in photography because I had heard about a different program. And I'm like, you know what I'm doing is not working. And I know it's a big investment, but I'm going to do it. And my husband and I have always been, I think I saw you write something recently about this too. Like Craig and I, we're not stupid risk takers. Like we don't do things that we know are just so out of our control, but we take risks that we know we can have some form of control over, and they're educated risks for the most part. And we know that the success from it can far outweigh the failure from it.
Right.
So like even opening the studio was absolutely terrifying, just to kind of rewind a bit. I did the hotel room thing. I got super tired of it because I had to deal with their check-in and check-out time. Sometimes they wouldn't let me check in time, and I'd literally have girls like piling up, and we'd be sitting in the lobby waiting, and we'd be hours behind.
Right.
So we found this space, and I mean, it's really damn expensive. Like at this point now, it goes up every year. We're paying about $3,000 a month.
Wow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so we said either we do it and find out that it doesn't work, and at least we tried, or we don't do it and we stay where we are and I don't get to do the thing that I really want to do.
Right.
So that was a big risk, but we knew we had to take it.
Right.
So obviously, however many years later, 6-7 years later, it's going well.
Right.
So what was the question?
You were 2018. So the difference was in 2017, you were like 43 clients, 48,000 gross. 2018, how much was your gross in 2018? And you started a mentorship program in 2018.
So it was 123,000.
So yeah,
it worked. That program definitely worked for me.
Like get you started. And but then what were you struggling with? So you definitely had like a large difference in your gross, but what were you struggling with still?
I felt capped. So the way that this program had structured the pricing, while it was significantly more than what I was doing beforehand,
right,
and it was working really, really well for me, just the way that the pricing was structured, it just capped me. Like I think the most that a client could pay me was like $3,000 or $4,000, which is great.
Right.
But I wanted to make $7,000 or $8,000. I wanted to make more.
Right.
And I didn't know how. Like I was just following the program, just like I do with you. Like I just follow the steps, and making changes is risky because I don't know the right changes to make. So I try not to touch what you do, and I just try to follow it as is. So that's what I was doing with the other program too. So I just felt capped, and I also felt like I needed to do a different system as far as getting clients,
right,
and having like a sustainable system, I guess.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the best things about our program is that it is a sustainable business model. And I'm saying that because I've been doing it. And so I know that it works because this is, I just had my second year making over $500,000. And the year before that, I made $280,000, but I was also working a full-time job. So, I mean,
yeah.
So then you found us in 2019. And you were looking to increase your sales average, to increase your gross revenue, and to bring more people in. Those were like the struggles why you found us.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, one of my friends who was also in the other program with me, she had mentioned you guys.
Oh, cool.
And so she had mentioned the price. She was specifically actually talking about Humberto at first.
Yeah.
I actually heard about Humberto before I heard about you specifically.
Yeah.
And she was mentioning his side of the things. And I'm just like, what? And it was scary. But then, of course, I rewinded and I looked at my history and I'm like, okay, historically, you're good at trusting your gut.
Yeah.
And you succeed at the things that you do because you work your ass off when you do them.
Right.
And you make the right decisions. It's not like I'm paying for a program that the mentor isn't, and this was even the one before, like mentors have been available for the most part. And it's not just like an online course where you just follow them, but you have no one to talk to. You know,
Right.
there's Q&As, there's very hands-on programs, and then there's very hands-off programs.
Yeah.
So I would never look at the hands-off ones because those are the ones that so in school, I'm tying this back. In school, I was always like, I needed to be in class in the front row to be able to focus and really retain the information.
Right.
Whereas I had friends who could do really, really well in online courses.
Right.
I was not that person. Like
Right.
online courses for me where I can't ask questions immediately,
Right.
like that never worked for me. So that's why I knew that this kind of thing was really successful as far as how I viewed it.
Yeah.
So in 2018, before I joined, in 2019,
Yeah.
before I joined the High Rollers Club, so January to April, I did 85,000 gross. And then from May to December, after the High Rollers Club, 275,000. So
That's insane.
Yeah, huge.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How did I not know that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I knew your gross, but like I didn't know that it was divided like that.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. So the total for last year was 360 with boudoir only. We rent the studio too, so that was like a different portion. So, but this is boudoir only.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
you're just a powerhouse. That's incredible. Is your husband just like, oh my God, boy, I hit the lottery when I married.
So it's awesome because he's able to focus on ramping up the things that he wants to ramp up. Like he quit his job before I even knew that boudoir could be successful like this.
Yeah.
When I was still in the wedding and family and engagement game. He quit his job because he saw me working from home and he's like, I want to do that too. Right. I want to do what I love.
Right.
And so since then, he's been just kind of figuring out what it is he wants to do, testing out the waters in different projects. And so it's nice because I can support us and he can do what he loves. And I know he's not going to ever like have negative feelings towards me for like making him go get a 9-to-5 when he doesn't want to.
Yeah. The same. My husband quit his job in like March of this year, and our family like home life is so much less stressful because he was working in a really stressful job. Like he was managing our entire state, for a physical therapy company. So he was a senior regional director and he had like 200 employees or something ridiculous like that. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of stress. And this Christmas was the first Christmas that he didn't have to worry about meeting the metrics for his other company. And like the one day, even though when 3 kids are off school and they're all at home with you, it's a lot of work.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And kind of stressful. But we looked at each other at one point and he's like, this is the first year that I've actually enjoyed a holiday because I haven't worried about what work was going to look like when I went back. And that's like the gift of owning your own business, right? Is you have this flexibility and this freedom that someone in a 9-to-5 doesn't have. And we never lose sight of that, like as, business owners, that we are very fortunate that we have that flexibility. So it's amazing, the change, like from 2018 to 2019, that's incredible. So looking forward to 2020, how are your bookings looking for moving forward?
Jen, I have 2 spots left and I don't know what to do.
That's awesome.
It's such a good problem to have.
Yeah, that's amazing. How many are you shooting a week or a month or?
3 a week for the most part.
Yeah.
Some weeks I have 4. I know those weeks I'm going to be a little bit miserable because I'm an extroverted introvert, I've realized. And so I really need my quiet downtime after.
Yes.
So 3 is my sweet spot. But this is including the fact that I've given myself a few like spontaneous weeks off throughout the year.
Right.
So I have right now 125 sessions booked for this year.
That's amazing.
Which is awesome.
That's amazing.
And I'm talking to somebody about potentially adding her to the team as like even just 1 session a week.
Right.
Possible.
Something
just to kind of, because I hate to turn people away, but I also know my limits and I know that I don't want to add more to my plate or I'll start getting burnt out.
Right. Absolutely. That's incredible though. I'm so happy. I'm so happy and just so proud of you. Going from May to December, making what you made, that's like 7 months, right? 7 months. You made how much? 280?
275.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
275.
And that's with pretty much all of December off.
That's like on average about $39,000 a month.
I hadn't done that math. I like that math. Yeah. And I did 2 sessions at the beginning of December and maybe 1 IPS, if I remember right.
Really? It's in 6 months.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
It's talking about like how your husband was just so relaxed this break. That was Craig and I, like we were in pajamas. Like we went on vacation to Tennessee. We got an Airbnb and some days we literally stayed in our pajamas and watched TV and let Landon like watch his iPad because we could because we knew we worked so hard this year and we deserve it. And like we felt so refreshed and ready to hit the ground running again. Right. Yesterday was my first day back and it's just like I feel so ready. My brain is like on fire. I'm ready to go.
I love that. I love it. I'm so happy for you. So you're booked out for 2020. So you've been on like our paths have kind of mirrored each other, like as far as like our, photography paths. So what's some advice? Like what were your biggest mistakes in the beginning, looking back now?
In the beginning of what? Like
your whole photography career, I guess. Like, do you have any like crazy mistakes, like looking back where you're like, what was I thinking?
I mean, I guess you could call mistakes. It's just more learning curves, like properly pricing yourself, not having confidence in myself and knowing what I was worth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that those are really mistakes as much as just like growth.
You know that there are photographers watching this right now, thinking there's no way, like $39,000 a month, like that's not even possible. That's what I make in a year. You know that there's so many.
There's going to be for sure. Yeah.
So what would you say to those people? Because like, I know when people comment on my ads and they're like, really, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to say this again for the 500th time. Like, you know what I mean? But what would you tell those people that are watching this and are like, there's no way, that's impossible. How is she even doing that?
A big thing is learning to trust yourself, but also not being fearful of yourself and what your potentials are. So my big thing here, here's kind of an answer to both the mistakes thing and this question.
Yeah.
I never invested in myself as a photographer. I bought equipment, but I never invested in my knowledge. Like I never did workshops. I never went to conferences, like all these things that everyone does yearly. I'm like, no big deal. I've got this.
Right.
So I guess a mistake could be that I just thought I had it all and thought I figured it all out myself, even though I was really not making my potential.
Right.
So I know that like investing in yourself is absolutely terrifying when you don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Right.
But the thing is that it really shouldn't be so scary. It should be more exciting because you know that you're trying to improve yourself as a person and as a business. Right. And what's going to come out of it will significantly trump what you would have left behind. Like, I don't know if that even makes sense. It made so much sense.
It totally does. And so I have my master's, my husband has his doctorate, and we always like talk about this and we're like, we've invested so much money in our educations, right? To go out, like I came out with $65,000 in school loans to go out and work a job that I would have to work for 30 years to pay off that school loan, right? Yes. My husband, the same. He went to school for his doctorate and he came out knowing that he was going to have to work 30 years. Like that school loan, we were convinced we would never be able to pay it off, that we would carry it until we were 65. Right. Yeah. And so, but you need to invest in yourself in order to grow and in order to make changes. And that's what always is mind-boggling to me about the photography industry is people want to get better. They want to make changes, but they don't want to invest in the fact that they need to do it. Yeah. But they're willing to go and spend $40,000 on a bachelor's degree that isn't going to make them any money. Yep. It's crazy to me. I always think about that. I'm like, really? Like, it's in the grand scheme of things, like, it's really
not that much money.
No, and which changes.
Yes, and your program, and don't change the price because I'm saying this. People are going to be like, why did you say that, Sivan? But your program is really affordable considering the material that you give us. Right. Comparing it to other programs that are significantly more expensive and less hands-on. Right. Like, there is so much value in the High Rollers Club. I mean, just the freaking name speaks for itself. I don't know who came up with that. It's brilliant.
I did.
You did. It makes you want to be part of it. I love High
You know what's funny is when I first started this, and I had to start like a Square account, Stripe, and PayPal. Every single one of them called me and was like, what exactly is your business? Because if you're gambling, we can't work with you.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not a gambling business, but yeah, so anyway, I wanted to thank you so much for jumping on. And do you have any like last minute pieces of advice for, photographers out there that are ready to make a change and they're just kind of scared to do it or scared to jump in? Any advice?
So this is just something that I've said for a long time when people started asking me, even with the other program and now with this one, like, how are you successful with it? And what made you feel like you could pay that much money? Like, how are you not scared? Or people just saying like, I can't do it. I've got too many of this to do and too much of this to do. And I have all these bills to pay. And it's like, well, that's why you should do it. So anyway, what I want to say is you can either stay where you are, doing the things that you're doing that aren't working, making a lot less money than you want to make, or you can pay a mentor who's already done all that and already figured it out and made like the perfect recipe for the perfect meal. And you're just buying that recipe, Right. And then you change your life for the better and you are so successful. So you have to get out of your own way. And that's something that I tell even my clients, like, get out of your own way, get out of your own head. Yeah. That's where the problems are. You're tricking yourself to believing that this is not going to work, that you as a person can't possibly make this much money because you are not worth it for some reason. Right. But you are worth it. You just need to learn how to value yourself.
Absolutely.
And so there's so much that you learn. It's more than just marketing. So I've had some people ask me, like, somebody recently told me, I already have, like, this is my sales average, which it was like between 1,000 to 2,000. Right. And so she said, so I'm good on that part. And I'm good on the IPS because she said something like, I did IPS last year and I made only $1,000. But I really need to know the marketing. It was something like that. Yeah. And I told him, like, it sounds like you need way more than the marketing. You need the marketing to attract the right clients. Right. You need automations. You need scripts for phone calls. Huge. Right. You need IPS skills and you need IPS or pricing. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. It's so much more than just a single thing. And I don't think people realize how much is really involved in this program, that for the amount of money, like, you make that back in a couple of sessions. Yeah. Once you start. I was talking to a photographer yesterday who was like, I've got memberships to all kinds of forums and it's not working. And I was like, okay, let me tell you why it's not working. Because it's like someone
gave you 10 puzzles with 300 pieces each, and you dumped them all into your living room floor, and you're trying to make one complete picture with all of those puzzles. I was like, it's not working. I said, you know, the mastermind is like one puzzle. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces, but at least you're not working with like 10 different puzzles trying to create a picture that's not going to make sense. And it's so important to have like all of the puzzle pieces working. And you know, I think my husband's like from, you know, a physical therapy world, and he always talks about R&D, research and development. And like when he first started talking about that, I was like, come on, like with your abbreviations really. But he was talking about it, I'm like, oh, it's so true. Cause like I'm doing R&D every single day. And then I'm teaching my students what I'm doing and what's not working and what worked for me. And so the R&D is like constantly happening because I'm running a full-time studio too. So but
that's something I've been telling people too about you. I'm like, she's running her own business, killing it. And if she has new ideas, she tests it out on her own market first. And then if it works, she tells us. Like, you don't just use us as your guinea pigs, you kind of use your clients as the guinea pigs.
It's true.
But it doesn't hurt them. If it was going to hurt anybody, it would be you, and you're willing to take that risk for the better of yourself and of all of your students. So it's just, I mean, we get so much out of you. I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you're awesome.
Thank you.
So if you're thinking of doing this, you have to just like do it. You just have to get out of your own way. I feel like just in life, just get out of your way.
You just gotta do it. You just gotta go for it. Yeah. It's better to just jump in cold water than to go in really slow.
Exactly. Yes. And kind of going back to what you were saying about all the puzzle pieces from all the different things.
Yeah.
So I know that there are so many amazing programs out there. There's you, and I know of several others that are working really, really well for people.
Yeah.
But like for me, I wouldn't hire multiple people at the same time because I'm going to confuse the crap out of myself. I'm going to overwhelm myself with too much information.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to try to combine this piece with this piece and put them together, and it just doesn't work. Like, you've got to commit to one thing and see it through to the end. Absolutely. And then when you're ready to move forward. But if you're killing it, then just stay where you are.
Right? Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so good talking to you, and I'm proud of you. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
You're just killing it over there.
Thanks.
You're just killing it. All right. Well, tell us your website so people can check you out and find you, and Instagram, right? You have Instagram too?
Yes. Okay. So website is lovelyinlace.me, M-E. And then my Instagram is lovelyinlace_Orlando. I tried _boudoir at one point, and Instagram doesn't like me.
No, Instagram's a little picky about things like that. So thank you so much for coming. If you guys want to check out Sivan's work, go to her Facebook, definitely follow her Instagram. She's got some gorgeous work. And thank you again for taking the leap and joining us. It's so good to have you with us, and I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Jen. Talk to you later.
Bye.